Well, hello, it's Brad Tanini here from Trusted Advisor Selling, and welcome to today's Power Sales webinar. We're going to talk about how to go higher, wider, and deeper with our account base. Or in other words, how to expand the client relationship, to monetize our relationship so as to make certainly more margin and profit, but also to go deeper into the trusting relationship so that it then snowballs and leapfrogs, if you like, into the next transaction. If you haven't been on one of my webinars before, chances are you're a new member. It's a 30-minute webinar, and I always pre-record these webinars for you and send them out to you simply because, as I do, I watch webinars once, twice, 3 times, or podcast, make my own notes, put them on my folder. So I want to give you the opportunity to do that and to watch at your own leisure, knowing full well that we're all busy and that you're probably out there right now making sales, seeing people face-to-face, or creating opportunities. So let's get straight to the information today. It's a no fluff webinar. We get straight to the information, and I want to talk about our topic in terms of how to go higher, wider, and deeper, which is the way that trusted advisors certainly first create more business rather than even looking at outside our own client base. Now, you might remember, if you have been with me for a little while, that I talked about the idea of how to be an ace in sales, an ace. And so let me just quickly expand on that, because people who have not heard this before, remember, this will be brand new to you. In the trusted advisor way, the methodology, the mindset we have, we attract, we C, convert, and E, expand our client relationships. And so our conversation today is very much around how do we expand the relationship. Now, it's something that we don't talk about a lot, to be honest with you, in sales, simply because we're very much looking at the A and the C. How do we attract more clients and how do we convert those clients? But I got to tell you, I don't see much advertised out there in terms of people who provide business building workshops or entrepreneur workshops or sales workshops. I don't see much talking about expanding the client relationship. In other words, how do we go higher, wider, and deeper to actually look at all the opportunities? And one thing's for sure, this is my 30th year in sales, and certainly over 15 years of working with salespeople and sales managers out in the field, talking with them, looking with clients at the conversations we're having. I don't see it talked about, this idea of expanding. And yet if we spend a bit more time on the E, the expanding of the relationship, I'm absolutely sure that not only would we make more sales, but would also increase our margins. So my father, who was a great salesman and certainly someone who had a significant impact on my life, talked about the idea of wringing the rag out on sales. He often said, Brad, are there opportunities still there in that relationship? Can you see the next product we could be selling to that customer? Can you see what they're currently not buying from us? All questions that I'm certainly going to pose to you today to come up with some ideas, some things you can walk away with and go, gee, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that often enough, or I haven't done that in some times with my clients, and it's about time I did. So this wringing the rag out on your client base is something I think that's fundamental about how we make sure that we are always looking for ways to create more business out of our existing customers. Now, it might be also our lapsed customers. It might be people who have quoted to in the past. You may argue that's still a new piece of business. I get that. But it may be right there in front of you in terms of existing customers or people who just haven't bought for a while, that you can wring the rag out of our current relationship to create more. So why don't we spend more time on the idea of expanding our current relationship with our clients to get more sales, more profit out of our existing customers? Well, I'm going to play here for a little while and talk about this because I think this is fundamental. There's an adage that goes back many, many years, and I always say that if there's something that I'm talking about that is an old idea made new, I will absolutely call it, and I'm transparent about that. And so let me be very transparent of the fact that there's an old adage. It goes back, as far as I know, at least 30 years. So if you're hearing it for the first time and someone is spruiking about it for the first time, saying they have this brand new information, call it. Call it as BS, because it is. Here's the adage. It takes 6 times as much work. It creates 6 times as much investment in money to create the new customer as to keep an existing one. Now, that's been around forever since I can remember. But let me go to this point. I don't believe it costs 6 times to create a new customer as it does to keep an existing one. I reckon it probably takes between 10 to 20 times as much work, 10 to 20 times as much energy, and 10 to 20 times as much money to create that new customer in this new social media driven world that is so complex now about how we communicate, connect with our customers, prospective customers, as it is to keep an existing customer and keep them for many, many years. There used to be a very old principle called the lifetime value of a customer, again, back 30 years or more. That's so true too. In other words, how do we actually build building blocks with our customers to look at a lifetime value, to look at how we can have their business for many, many years? Because it just costs so much to go out and create a new piece of business. So why is it that we don't spend more time on this? Why is it that we literally are out trying to create new business all the time, trying to find ways of connecting and creating new opportunities in the social media driven world, rather than actually looking inwardly at our customer list and looking at how we can actually create more business? Well, let's explore this for a second, because I think that there's some interesting information around this. Well, why do we go higher, wider, and deeper? Number one is that we have an absolute focus on acquisition. I have no doubt about that. If I look at the clients that I work with, the salespeople I work with, we all have this absolute focus on acquisition. Everywhere I go, people are talking about how they can create more leads through Facebook, more leads through Instagram, and more leads through LinkedIn, how we can go to a workshop and creating more pipeline. Everything is pipeline focused. And yet working with some very large corporate customers of mine over the last 12 years, I have seen this over and over again being absolutely overlooked, where we have a focus on acquisition and we're not thinking about how we can go higher, wider, and deeper to create more business on our existing customers. If we can just get this right, it would make life so much easier as a salesperson, and it is so much the trusted advisor way to look at long-term relationships that produce for us ongoing business as partners forever. So let's talk a bit more about why we don't go higher, wider, and deeper. Well, if you look at the way that salespeople are traditionally paid, they have an incentive on what we call blue sky. And blue sky is about how we create more new business, new accounts we can open, new business that we can get inside the door. And chances are that if you've got salespeople who are hunters in your sales team, or you are indeed a hunter yourself, you are paid as an incentive to open more doors. Well, that's fine. But are we provided with the same opportunities to go higher, wider, and deeper with our current client base so that we can actually produce more profit and more products sold back to more our existing customers and get an incentive to do that? I don't see that happening a lot, which means that there is an overwhelming feeling as a salesperson that why would I bother? I may as well just go and get new business, open new doors, prospect more, because I'm going to get more incentive, more blue sky. Number 3 is that traditionally sales teams are set up as hunters and farmers. You've got people that they're hunting every day. You've got farmers out there who are servicing accounts. So why does that mean we don't go higher, wider, and deeper? Well, as hunters, you're not going to go higher, wider, and deeper because it's not in your interest to do so. And as a farmer, that's all you're paid to do is to retain clients. But here's the problem. Because you're a farmer of the account, you may not have the existing relationship or the first relationship with that customer, which means that you don't necessarily have the trust. I'm going to talk about this later with customer service being involved. So maybe having the hunter involved in some of those opportunities and conversations with the client is going to increase our opportunity to get more business. There is another part of this model called what I call a hybrid. And a hybrid is a hybrid between hunting and farming. To me, this is a wonderful way of giving people who are pretty good at farming an opportunity to create more business, but also those hunters an opportunities as a hybrid to be able to deal with their existing customer list to create more opportunities. When you have a traditional hunter only hunting all the time as a BDM, I see burnout all the time. People as hunters always burning themselves out. So why we don't go higher, wider and deeper is because we actually pay to go and create new business. And as a farmer, we don't have that relationship, that trust that we had first to be able to ask for more business. Number 4 is customer service, which I was going to talk about. I was just talking about before. Customer service comes into the mix. A hunter traditionally passes over the account to a farmer or a customer service person. They now work with that account, create more opportunity. But what they're doing traditionally is retaining business and not necessarily going deeper to create more. So they're paid to retain, but not necessarily to create more business out of those existing accounts. So these are all reasons why I think we don't go higher, wider and deeper in terms of how do we get more out of our current client base. Here's number 5, assumption. Boy, we assume a lot in sales. We assume that because someone is a customer and has been a customer for many years, that they have no interest in getting other products or services from us, because guess what? We've told them all about it. We've spent time talking about all our products and services. Well, that's not true. Why? How many times have you found with your existing clients that you have had a customer saying to you, I didn't know you did that? Really? Do you do that as well? Gee whiz, we actually use XYZ for that. And how many times do you walk out of the appointment saying to yourself, boy, how wrong did I get that in assuming that they don't have a need for that product or service? I think we all do it. Every one of us does it, where we assume by our conversations in the past, our meetings in the past, that they have no need for these other new products or services or things that we could still be offering. We've assumed that we're pretty much getting the 100% of all business. Number 6 is trust. We haven't developed a big enough trust. We haven't developed a deep enough trust, if you like. In other words, we as trusted advisors should really be very, very close to our customers, understanding what their needs and wants are, when there's changes inside the company, where there's internal referrals and introductions, a whole range of things we should be accustomed to. But if we haven't developed a deep enough relationship, we haven't developed the trust, perhaps we haven't asked enough or we haven't been there enough to actually find these things out. Number 7 is selling innovation. What I mean by that is we don't go higher, wider and deeper because we don't actually believe in our own heart of hearts that we have enough new product or selling innovation to be able to sell back to our customers, or we've had products or services come into our product portfolio, but we haven't put those into any sort of organized fashion with our customers to be able to talk to our customers about those things. Sometimes it's about dripping out new innovations to our customers. So there's always something new coming to them, always something new. Many, many years ago, I remember certainly speaking about this to members about my existing, my previous customer base I had in my executive diary business. I was in the diary and promotional product business. And I used to have a meeting with our largest customer, who was Corporate Express, every year. They were doing about 30% of our volume. And I used to make a pilgrimage to Sydney every year to see my biggest customer up there. And the National Strategic Supply Manager used to put me through my paces every year for about 15 to 20 minutes. I was lucky to get that long with him, to ask me one question. I would turn up to his doorstep. I would be there with my basket of goodies, my briefcase of all new samples. And he would ask me fundamentally one new question. And that was, Brad, tell me, what's new this year in executive diaries? And I better have the answer to that, because if I didn't answer that in a really upbeat, passionate, exciting way, that was the only opportunity I had to basically pitch to him a new product or service. Now, you may have that same situation where you don't get long in front of your buyer, where the person who's making the decision, the economic buyer, is someone who just gives you your one opportunity a year. If you haven't got enough innovation in your message, if you haven't got enough products ready to go, if you haven't got enough what's new, then chances are you won't take advantage of this higher, wider and deeper principle. So selling innovation, product innovation. Well, what are the benefits of us going higher, wider and deeper with our customers? There are probably around 5 of those in terms of things I could think of as to why we should be going more higher, wider and deeper and spending more time doing this. Number 1 is fairly simple and straightforward, and that's gross margin and sales. Now, it pays to obviously get deeper with our clients if we're getting more gross sales and margin. If you're actually looking at new products or services you can be selling to your customers, well, you know, chances are you can increase your average spend and increase your average customer spend per year and lifetime value. But the other thing is too, as you get closer to your customers, you may produce more margin as well. And gross margin is what makes the business wheels go around, of course. The second one is longevity. If you can go higher, wider and deeper with your customers, I think you build longevity with a customer relationship, which means that you get them for a longer period of time. Let's face it, 5 years versus 10 years as a customer, that's worth a lot of money. That could be worth hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in gross sales or margin with some of the people I work with who are dealing very much at the top of the tree, people who are selling very big solutions in terms of that lifetime value. So longevity of customer, by going higher, wider and deeper and continually getting in front of our customers, expanding the relationship, means that we can actually have a much richer relationship. Number 3, referrals and introductions. That's certainly true. That if we can get higher, wider and deeper, they can refer us into people internally and externally. Introductions into people who should really be speaking with us about what we can do. And a very easy way to segue this is to say to your customer, are you seeing the value of what we're doing? Are you happy with what we're doing? Are you happy with the product solution? Happy with the results we're getting? And as soon as they say yes to that, that's an opportunity to walk straight through the door and say, hey, do you think this department would also get the benefit? Do you think that other sister company of yours would also get the benefit? Well, I'd love an introduction to those, that decision maker, and have a chat about what we're doing right here in the success we're having. Number 4 is reverse engineering. When you're going higher, wider and deeper, expanding in your client list, finding out more about what they're currently doing, account managing, you can reverse engineer product solutions in the future on the back of what they are telling you. Now, here's a nice easy way to segue into this one. I often ask customers, if I was to put on whatever you like at the end of that in terms of a new product or service, would that be of interest to you? Now, as soon as you have someone saying yes to that, you can now reverse engineer and create a product that is going to meet that need, even if you don't have that product just yet. Number 5 is that I think higher, wider and deeper means that you have a much more enjoyable sales process. Instead of out there prospecting all the time, creating new opportunities all the time, knocking down doors all the time, you get good at higher, wider and deeper, it is much more enjoyable. You are dealing with current clients who will wrap their arms around you and say, come on in for a cup of coffee. And that is a much more enjoyable way of selling. So higher, wider and deeper to me is fundamental to being a trusted advisor. It is the core of how we increase our sales. It is the thing we do before we go out and prospect like crazy and look at new opportunities through social media or any other networking or other ways in which we get business out there. This is where we start. Higher, wider, and deeper. So let's talk about expanding the client relationship in terms of how we do that. Well, I often talk about the fact that there are 4 ways to expand your business. And the 4 ways are this, and you may have seen this in one of my seminars or on a previous webinar, because I talk about this all the time. Number 1 is more business from existing customers, which is exactly what we're talking about today. Number 2 is new business from lapsed customers. Number 3 is new business from existing market. And number 4 is new business from new market. Let me start from the mauve. New business from new market, the hardest business to get. Really hard. Low conversion rates. You're tapping into a new market. You don't have the expertise in there. That's tough. Red zone. New business from existing market is something we're always out there doing, knocking down new doors, but it's existing market, people who at least may have heard of us, and we have good products in that market. The green, new business from lapsed customers, going back into existing customers, people who have lapsed, asking them to come back to us. That to me is nice, warm work to do. It's business we all should be doing all the time. But the blue zone is where we're talking today, more business from existing customers. How do we get more business from existing customers? So what I've done is I've basically put together a range of ideas for you today around about 10 new ideas that you can take away with you. Take away any of these ideas, start applying them, and I guarantee that you'll be able to go deeper into your client base and produce more sales. So they're not really in any particular order, although the first couple of things that I would say you really should do to start with, as I move on, any of the 10 ideas can be applied in any way you want to. Let's get stuck into number one. Number one is asking you, how much gold is in your current client base? I think this is a fundamental question. And if you don't have a good CRM database, if you don't have a place where all your customer records live, turn me off at this point, go out and get one. They can be acquired for probably no more than about $20 a month online, or you can get a much more elaborate system depending upon the size of your sales team, depending upon what you're selling. But for someone who is a solid practitioner, you can get any product online that enables you just to create a very basic client base. Some people exist with just an Excel spreadsheet for a while. That's fine. Whatever it is that gives you a way of tracking back into your database, of knowing who your current clients are, of knowing what they bought, of knowing when they bought, of knowing what products they bought. So this to me is absolutely fundamental to getting started. Get a client base, put your client base into a CRM, and make sure that you have that there so you can actually mine it. Number one, I know it sounds very fundamental, but so many people I work with say I haven't really got one, so got to start there. Number two is share of wallet audit. Now, a share of wallet audit is when we actually look at what we're currently getting from our current client base and what we're not getting, And so I think it's all about share of wallet. If you look at your current spend of those clients who spend with you, are you getting all their business? That's really my question. Chances are you're not. Chances are they're using a couple of different vendors. Now, buyers may do that specifically to keep people honest, and I understand that. But they also like the idea of having one company doing invoicing to them, one company being the supplier on the file, and not having multiple suppliers producing multiple products, clogging up their purchasing or their ability to really go out and get new products and services from companies, because it takes time and money to do all that. Some of my corporate customers love the fact that, if I could do something extra for them, that's fabulous, because it just means I have to go look for another vendor. So think about that. Where are you currently at with your share of wallet audit on your current clients? Now, there's a part of this that to me is very fundamental, and that is working at a customer matrix. If you've got a pen and paper in front of you right now, do this quickly on a piece of paper for me. Draw it on the left-hand side, just a vertical line, and then across the top, a horizontal line. So you've got a vertical line and a horizontal line. Down the left-hand side, just put down the column there, companies or clients, if you like. Across the top right-hand line, just put across there products or solutions. Here's what I'd like you to do in a much more elaborate way, or a much more sophisticated way, although this is a very simple way of just getting stuck into it. And that is, down the left-hand side, make a list of all your clients. Across the right, make a list of all the different products and services you have to offer the market. And then draw lines down that matrix and put in asterisks across there. And you will find there are gaps everywhere in your client list on the left-hand side of the products you're not currently selling to them across the top. It's really, really interesting. Every time I get any client to do this, and it can be a very big sales team, they will be absolutely flabbergasted at how much business they're leaving on the table, where people who are good clients of theirs are not currently buying the full solution. Do a very simple customer matrix. You'll be amazed at what you find out. If you can do it a more elaborate way with a CRM, look at all the tags in your CRM and work out what clients are currently buying and what they're not buying. As a sales manager, you should be asking your salespeople, why aren't we getting the business? Where are the opportunities currently in the account? Why they're currently buying that piece of business from our competitors? What would it take for us to get that piece of business? There's a whole coaching one-on-one program that can really be attached to this in terms of how to coach that with salespeople. But it starts with a matrix. Number three is the 3 business builders strategy. Now, this is something that's been talked about by many, many business coaches out there as being brand new. It's not brand new. Murray Raphael, the gentleman on the right-hand side, said this from the platform in 1987 in Sydney when I went to a direct marketing conference. He talked about the 3 business builders that are fundamental in every business. Number 1, number of clients. Number 2, average order value. Number 3, number of times they purchase from you. So let me go back. Your sales will be a combination of number of clients multiplied by how much they spend every year, multiplied by the frequency of purchase every year. It is not new. It was talked about in 1987. I saw it. It was brilliant when I saw it. Again, you'll see some people out there talking about how this is brand new in terms of business building. It's not, but it's a great idea. And everything fundamentally goes back to these 3 things. How many clients have I got? How much do I want? How much are they spending currently? And how often are they spending? Here's your task. When you go back and play this over again, go back and do the exercise and work out how many clients have I got? How much do they spend on average? And how many times they purchase from a year? In our business, the diary business, many years ago, we knew that our direct mail business, our average spend per direct mail customer was around about $110. And we knew they purchased about 1.2 times a year simply because they bought something else during the year, but not that many of them bought. That was a fundamental problem. We had changed that by introducing products and services to get the frequency up. When you multiply those 3 things together, you get your total clients, your total sales base. When you get total sales base, you can create exponential sales by just tweaking each of those 3 things. Put a piece of paper in front of you. When you get a second, get a calculator out and write down 100 clients by $100 average order value by frequency of 1, and then change that to say 110 clients by 1.1 or $110 if you like per client average spend, and put that down as 1.1 frequency. Put it on the calculator, have a look. You'll be amazed at how it looks. Number 4 is what we call the ascension ladder. And my principle around this is what is it that you're currently getting from your clients? And how can you ascend them up the ladder? Dan Kennedy talks about this, one of the direct marketing gurus. He talks about the fact that every client comes into your ascension ladder at a certain point, and you can ascend them up the ladder to purchase bigger and bigger solutions and spend more and more money with you. Have a think about it. Where are your offerings currently in terms of good, better, and best in the market? Are you currently only offering this level of solution and not offering 2 or 3 more solutions up the ladder? I find that every time I offer one solution and I go to the next and the next solution, there's always a new part of my ascension ladder that I can offer more and more to my clients. What does that mean? They can spend more and more with me. As you gain trust, a raving fan, you can move people up your ascension ladder. Draw your own ladder when you get off this webinar call and write down what are the levels or rungs in your ascension ladder. Where do people start with you? What do they then buy? Then what packages are you creating at the very top of the tree? Chances are you leave money on the table. Number 5, the Ferris wheel concept. Joe Girard talks about this, the Guinness Book of Records, #1 salesperson that ever sold out there in the marketplace, sold 13,001 cars over a 15-year period. He's in the Guinness Book of Records as the #1 salesperson. He talks about the Ferris wheel. The Ferris wheel. He talks about as the customer comes in contact with you, they have a different experience with you as they go around the Ferris wheel. That Ferris wheel might be up to 2, 3, 4, 5 years. In his case, it was 4 for a car. And as they go around, they then buy again at about year 4. And his premise is, what are you doing to communicate with that customer around the Ferris wheel as they go around the Ferris wheel? Service, parts, new sales, warranty, all those different parts of a car sale period come into play. Every one of my customers has a Ferris wheel. You have a Ferris wheel. Where are your customers in the Ferris wheel? How are you tracking where they are? In other words, are they at year 1, 2, 3? Where is a logical place for the next sale to be made? When you start thinking that way, you start thinking of all the multiple opportunities you have in your Ferris wheel. Number 6 is low-hanging fruit. Low-hanging fruit. Here's my idea here. Every raving fan, as you go higher, wider, and deeper with them, will have the opportunity to introduce you to other people, but they'll also be great for testimonials. In other words, put a camera in front of them, get a testimonial. Put a written testimonial from them, they'll sign it off. Here's my point. The low-hanging fruit in your higher, wider, and deeper current raving fans can be fantastic for the introductions into other departments, other sister or brother companies, or other people they know. It's the lowest hanging fruit in your business, referrals and introductions into other parts of their business. Start there. You'll be amazed at what you can create. Number 7, reverse engineering. I talked about this before, so very briefly, we reverse engineer by asking our customer what they think of a certain product or solution. Would they be interested in it? Then we design the product around that, and we create a new product to market, higher, wider, and deeper. A quick example is if I go to a customer off and say, I'm building a new website. Hey, in my website, I'm just curious to know, I'm going to put this product in. What do you think about that? Would you have a need for that product? And as soon as I see their eyes light up, I think, okay, I'm on the path. Let's design the product, get it out there, and make it happen. Reverse engineer from your current client base to create the new product you're going to put out. Number 8 is a nurture sequence. A nurture sequence is simply your ability to nurture your clients over a period of time by putting out communication with them to be able to create a series of contact points so that they get used to hearing from you. What's a nurture sequence? Well, at the very start of a nurture sequence, it's very much around how do we actually create that first conversation with our clients. And that might be on the back of the fact that we haven't even done business yet. It could be on the back of the fact that we're having to get a thank you card out to them, or a way of doing business with them and saying thank you for your business. I put this together in the 1% Edge. In the 1% Edge program, if you've done the program with me before, you'll know the 1% Edge, we have in there a series of letters by a real estate agent in Melbourne, Simon Mason. And Simon Mason is a very good friend of mine, and he actually enabled me to print those letters with his permission. And the letters basically have his nurture sequence for up to, I think it's 5 years of different communication you can have with your clients. And his letters are fabulous because they actually go into the anniversary of the sale, the anniversary of the time that you actually spend time together, the anniversary of being able to have the settlement of the product. It's just a tremendous way of being able to build a nurture sequence that he has created over a period of time, and people have walked out the 1% Edge with me and had that nurture and to be able to create their own nurture sequence. So a nurture sequence is really your ability to be able to put together things like this. Let me go to some of these ideas in a nurture sequence for you. Here you go. The nurture sequence has got ideas like thank you note before the appointment, thank you note after the appointment, 48-hour reason to call them. In other words, a reason to call the prospect before they're in a client. Sending an article or a newsletter would be a nurture sequence. Another part of the nurture sequence might be after they've certainly started doing business with you as a how's things drop by, a birthday card or a New Year card. There's a lot of different ways we can create a nurture sequence. And Joe Gerard was certainly, the Guinness Book of Records salesman, was certainly someone who was very, very good at this. But everyone who creates a nurture sequence gets close to their customers. So what have you got in terms of your nurture sequence, in terms of how you communicate to customers after the sale's made? Chances are there's a lot of room for improvement. Number 9, quarterly or annual reviews. Now, insurance and financial planners are extremely good at this, where they actually create a reason for being in touch with you again, a reason for getting together every quarter or annually to discuss your requirements financially or for your insurance. What a wonderful way to go higher, wider, and deeper and create new business. One of the things that I think is really, really special about this is that that conversation always creates a new sale. How about for you? Is there an annual or quarterly checkup process that you can actually run with your clients? A drop by, a cup of coffee, a how's things, to be able to look at ways in which you can get more business because it's genuinely required by your customer. Now, I never teach anything that's manipulative, win-lose. It's all about win-win. But if your customer has a need, you should be providing that need. Higher, wider, and deeper tools around this idea of quarterly annual reviews. Number 1, an account audit. Perhaps you've got a way of doing an audit where you actually have a piece of paper come with you, a checklist, you go through certain questions. Financial planners, insurance people do this every time. They do a little audit and they work through that with you. An account planning form, perhaps. That account planning form might have gaps in it where you actually fill it in, a person's name, a person's relationship, kids. What's the information do you keep? Products they've bought from you before, all the stuff that you need to have in front of you at a meeting or at the end of a meeting to fill it in. That goes in your database. So it's an account planning form to fill your database. And number 3 might be a proactive communication plan. In other words, what have you got planned to deal with the customer ongoing in terms of inviting the functions, networking, the corporate box, the game of golf, whatever it is in terms of communication plan with your current clients. I think this process of quarterly to yearly checkups and the way in which we communicate with our customers regularly is fundamental to going higher, wider and deeper. And here's our last idea today, and that is referrals and introductions. There is no doubt that if we go higher, wider and deeper and do it really well with our clients, they will refer us on, they'll provide introductions. We need to be able to have antennas up to be able to ask that question. When do we ask for it? Well, as Bill Cates, my good friend in the US, says, whenever value has been accepted or been acknowledged, that is the time to ask for referrals and introductions. So this is the higher, wider and deeper process today. Very short and sharp, lots of information. I know you'll probably play it again, but I like to make sure that people can quickly get these webinars, grab the information, apply the ideas and information, go out in the field and create more sales. Higher, wider and deeper. How are you as a trusted advisor expanding on the client relationship? How are you using the E in the ACE formula? Attract, convert, expand. Chances are you're spending a lot of time on attracting, converting. I'm just suggesting today, think about how you're expanding. If you can think about how you expand, chances are you will create more opportunities in your client base. And the more opportunities in the client base means fundamentally you're able to have increased longevity, perhaps increase gross margins, but also a wonderful opportunity to be able to create more sales back to those existing clients. Have fun with it. Enjoy the higher, wider and deeper principle.